Hello, hello, hello. ہم ہیں عورتیں دل سے دیسی, a podcast for brown women by brown women. I'm your host Geet, joined by my lovely co-hosts Amna and Sammy.
Hello.
Hello.
Today's episode is dedicated to the very special someone in all of our lives, وہ جو
تھوڑی سی کیوٹ ہے تھوڑی سی کراری بھی تھوڑی سی کول ہے تھوڑی سی پرانی بھی جیسے گرمی میں ٹھنڈا سا شربت کھٹا میٹھا سا جیسے سردی میں چاہت کا کوئی کمبل موٹا سا میری پیاری امی.
Today is about the creation of life, the feminine energy, the nurturing of one being by another. I want to take a moment to acknowledge all the moms in my life. My mother, my nani, my chachi, my masi, my mommy, my cousins, my friends, all women whose love has always been palpable. I also want to take a moment to reflect on those people who've lost their mothers. It isn't an easy day for them, and we're sending you loads of hugs. In honor of moms who left us too soon, Sabyn would like to share a story about her mom.
سلام اور آداب. پیاری پیاری عورتیں. تو جی قصہ میری بہت ساری زندگیوں میں سے ایک بہت خوبصورت سی زندگی کا ہے. خوبصورت اس لیے کیونکہ اس میں امی ہوا کرتی تھی. تو ہوا کچھ یوں کہ ایک دن امی کی طبیعت خراب تھی. Nothing too serious, but she wasn't feeling well. So she went to the doctor that she had visited before with the same condition and requested the same medication. ڈاکٹر کے پاس وہ میڈیسن تو تھی لیکن ہائر ڈوز میں. اس نے امی کو بتائے بغیر ڈرپ میں وہ ہائر ڈوز کی میڈیکیشن لگا دی. ودن منٹس امی کو ریئیکشن ہوا اور طبیعت مزید خراب ہو گئی. خیر انہوں نے وہ ڈرپ ہٹا دی اور گھر آ گئیں. تھوڑی دیر کے بعد جب طبیعت بہتر ہوئی تو وہ پولیس اسٹیشن گئیں اینڈ شی فائلڈ اے کمپلینٹ اگینسٹ دیٹ ڈاکٹر. پولیس تو انتظار میں ہوتی ہے, انہیں موقع ملے. وہ پہنچ گئے ڈاکٹر کے پاس اینڈ دے اسٹارٹڈ آسکنگ فار منی فرام ہم. پھر ڈاکٹر نے امی کو فون کیا اینڈ ہی اپولوجائزڈ, مطلب بہت سوری واری کیا. امی کا دماغ انتہائی گرم بٹ دل بہت اچھا اور بہت ہی نرم سا تھا. انہوں نے کہا جاؤ معاف کیا, اور پولیس کو بولا کہ وہ کمپلین واپس لے لیں. پولیس نے کہا نہ جی ہم تو نہیں واپس لیں گے, ہم نے تو کمپلین رجسٹر کر دی ہے. امی نے کہا ایک دفعہ اور کہہ رہی ہوں کہ کمپلین کینسل کر دیں. پولیس نہیں مانی. امی بولی ہن دیکھ تماشا. امی نے تو گاڑی نکالی, پولیس اسٹیشن پہنچی. کس کے ساتھ؟ اپنی ریوالور رانی کے ساتھ. اوف کیا انٹری تھی, آسکر ملنا چاہیے تھا. The way she entered that police station, all guns blazing, was a sight to watch. پولیس والوں کی تو حالت آؤٹ. یہ سیدھا گئیں, tore up that complaint register and left. Nobody stopped her or said a word. I guess they were all too shocked to say or do anything. مطلب یار کون عورت جاتی ہے پولیس اسٹیشن میں, اور وہ بھی آرمڈ؟ یہ میری امی ہی کر سکتی تھیں. وہ عورت جس کو خدا کے علاوہ کسی کا ڈر نہ تھا ساری زندگی. بہت خوشیاں بھی دیکھیں اور دکھ بھی دیکھے پر ٹوٹی کبھی نہیں. ایسی تھی میری ماں. وہ ابھی بھی جہاں ہوں گی بہت گینگسٹر لائف جی رہی ہوں گی اور بہت خوش ہوں گی, اور یہی فیلنگ میرے دل کو خوش رکھتی ہے.
واہ سبین, کیا کہانی شیئر کی ہے, سن کے بڑا مزہ آیا. Every time I've heard stories of your mother, I've always wished I had met her. یہ کہانی سن کے مجھے ایسے لگ رہا ہے کہ وہ کہیں کھڑی ہو کے دیکھ کے تمہیں مسکرا رہی ہوں گی. And now we move on to the rest of the episode in which Amna, Sammy, and I will be sharing our mothers with all of you.
I just want to say I'm really, really thankful to Geet and Sammy for doing this. This has been on my bucket list forever. And thank you for fulfilling it. So, my relationship with my mom was really a difficult one in the beginning. Lots of problems. She was very strict. I never thought Ammi was approachable. Um, she was disciplinarian maximus. She just made our life really, really, really difficult. Um, so, and also a lot of self-esteem issues. She was very pretty, so we weren't pretty enough, we weren't smart enough, we were, her parenting style was like doing negative, bringing the negative out even if it doesn't exist. So anyway, fast forward to the year I got married, year I became a doctor and moved to America. My dad died the same year, and then the roles changed. Um, I decided to be a dutiful daughter and really caregiver to my widowed mother. And she decided to become my rock. She was my biggest supporter. She was there for me through everything, through infertility, through my first failed marriage, through my divorce, through my wanting to have a relationship with a Gura guy and my getting married to him. Ammi was there for me every step of the way. And I was there for her. So that's the relationship we ended up having. But really, we just let go of our differences. I forgave her, she forgave me. And we had a beautiful relationship throughout the rest of her life. I want to talk about a story. In 2002, that was the last time my mom said she had come to America. She's never coming back. So it was recent after 9/11, and mom got sick, and we decided to, she was like, I have to go back to Pakistan. I was like, I mean, you cannot even walk by yourself. You can't go to the bathroom by yourself. How am I going to get you on a plane and take you? She was like, I will do it. Just take me to Pakistan. So I took her to Pakistan, and at the airport, it was extreme scrutiny that day. So they opened my suitcase, and then he zipped it, but there were some clothes sticking out. So I went in the barrier and I just rearranged it. And he was like, you touched it, so now I have to reopen it. And meanwhile, my mom is sitting there in the wheelchair doing commentary in Urdu. ये क्या बकवास है, ये क्या कर रहे हैं? And I'm like, "Oh, please stop. We're with TSA here." And so we go in, wheelchair पे, फिर दोबारा सारी scrutiny, and then we go to the gate. And I don't know if you guys remember, around that time, there used to be some random checks at the gate too. So they announced my mom's name. And I'm like, this is a joke? And I thought I have the same last name. And I was like, is it me? And she's like, no, it's a random screening. I said, of this little old lady who's sitting in a wheelchair? She's like, can she stand up? So Ami stood up, and again, Ami is very upset that she's being fondled. And she's like, this is my last time I've come to America. I'm never coming back. So we go back to Lahore, and then she's going through her purse, and she's like, देखो कितने नकम्मे हैं वो सिक्योरिटी वाले, उन्हें ये छुरी तो मिली नहीं. She had a little pocket knife. And I'm like, me. And that's another thing that, that's my mom. She just was the way she was. And the other thing that I realized when we went back to Lahore, Ami was sick here, she was hospitalized. So there's not that many people visiting, right? It's me, maybe a friend, maybe my niece came. And we go to Lahore, and we go to sleep, we wake up, and first thing, her neighbor called. She sent special tea and breakfast, Kashmiri chai and bakar khani for us. Then the entire mohalla, the block came to see her. Then the entire city came to see her. And then people from out of the city also come to see you because you were sick. So I think that part of our culture, I knew Ammi is never coming back to America, no, because that socialization we cannot give in America. And that's really my little story. And I'll read a little poem that I've written for her, and I publish it every death anniversary and Mother's Day. I'll read it in Urdu first and then in English. मेरे खौफ मेरे आंसू मेरे खौफ मेरे आंसू तुम्हारे बगैर बेयारो मददगार उदासी की सड़कों की खाक छानते फिरते हैं मैं इनसे जान छुड़ाने के लिए अपनी बेटी के बालों में तेल लगाने बैठ जाती हूँ या फिर मोतिये के फूलों के हार बनाकर अपने बालों में सजाती हूँ My fears, my tears, without you are wandering on the streets of sadness. To get rid of them, I start putting oil in my daughter's hair or make garlands of jasmine flowers to adorn my hair.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's lovely. Thank you, Amna.
So now,
Thank you, Amna.
Sammy,
Um, yeah, it's really, I think what's really giving me pause this year is that I'm going to be turning 40. And actually, 40 is also the age that my mom came to the US. And so I'm trying to imagine what it must have been like to just leave everything behind. Everything that you knew, every street, every shop, every corner, like leaving all that behind, moving to an all new country with your partner, with your children, not knowing what is going to be ahead of you. But I'm really grateful that my parents really took that chance and came here. And initially, when my mom moved here, I know that she and my father both, I think, had this sort of realization that they're suddenly in a country that's not Pakistan or not even like the Middle East where we were growing up. But, and they really tried hard to like sort of double down on the culture and religion and, all the things that sort of come with Pakistan and India and like, but at the same time, I saw her struggling, through just trying to find work and trying to keep us fed and trying to take care of us, trying to get me to school. And because I was still like, 5, 6 years old. So she was still sort of really kind of watching me. And I think I'm finally realizing at this point in my life how much sacrifice she had made to come here and to also provide that opportunity for us that she probably didn't get in Pakistan. So it's just, I'm like Mother's Day gives me just pause, and I'm really grateful for the life that she's given us and, the life that she gave me. And the reason why I'm here today is because of her. Yes, वो एक अलग बात है that once I was here, she really didn't like me for a couple of years because I was rebelling all the time, which is rebellion in their mind, right? For me, it was like, okay, I'm independent. Like I want to be independent, just like all the other women around me here in the U.S. But, and I think that was really sort of probably the biggest struggle that I've had through my life with her. And it was hard for me to like think about it from her point of view, right? Because as a teenager, you're like, whatever, it's my life. I want to do whatever I want to do. But, but I'm coming to this point now where I'm really going, what really was it like for her to move here? And through these conversations with her, I've been really sort of trying to have these conversations with her because she's now like in her late 70s. She's dealing with some memory loss. And so I don't want to lose some of those memories that she probably has of her moving here. And so I've been doing a little more intentional, like just conversations with her and asking like, what was it like for you? And that's been really sort of meaningful. And as I reflect on the last 40 years of my life and realize that, yeah, she came here when she was 42. That's like, it's such a weird, I don't know, it feels really odd right now and turning 40 and also not being able to the experiences that she had were so different from the experiences that I'm having now as a South Asian American woman. And I don't even know if she considers herself as a South Asian American woman herself. I think she's very true, like, मैं Pakistani हूँ. I have roots in India, but I don't know if she sees herself as American as I do. And it makes sense, right? But I'm really sort of grateful for just the guidance that she provided me through my younger years. And I'm glad that she was there challenging me all the time because it helped me understand what I really wanted in my life. And it probably helped her now understand what, what I don't want in my life too. I myself chose not to be a mother, and I think that's okay too. We don't talk about that enough in our South Asian culture where it's expected that
Oh,
women just
definitely.
become, yeah, like women are just seen as caregivers and they're expected to be mothers. I'm going against that, and probably one of the toughest decisions I've made, not because
Me
I made
too.
it, but because everyone else is making it tough for me to actually like stick to it. But I will not have children, and that's okay, and that's final. And I
And
think,
that's okay.
right, and I've learned to
Yeah,
live
that's
with
your
that.
choice.
Absolutely, and that's, I think it's hard for others to understand because it's such a natural, like you get married, you have children. It's like two steps in your life, right? As soon as you grow up. Um, और मैंने एक step काट दिया, तो
That's what I actually think about a lot. And
yeah,
it's like, why? Why do I think so differently from everybody? And sometimes I wonder, like, do people even question, like, the things that are expected from them? Like, oh, I have to grow up and I have to get educated and then I have to get married. And women, I'm speaking about. And then I have to get married and now I have to, have children. And, there's a lot that goes into having children. I get that. There's like, you're like a time ticker, right? Like 35 and you better be pregnant and all of that. And although medical science is making wonderful advances and those numbers are
right.
changing and things are changing, and of course there's always adoption and there's always, other surrogacies and alternative methods to pregnancy, but and who knows, everybody's mind changes all the time. I mean, I said for my entire life I didn't want kids. And now I'm not saying I do want kids, but I'm kind of questioning. Like it's
Yeah,
always a question in my head. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not anti-children, and that's never what it was about for me. It was more,
right.
more for me. It was about parenting. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. This is
Yeah.
Mom's Day.
But it's
And
an
I
So
think,
important conversation.
yeah,
It's a mom's day, so there are women who choose not to be moms.
well, who choose not to be moms or who are, out of the norm moms. Like I'm a mom to my three dogs who are, who
yeah,
have been incessantly sick for the last 6 months. So I promise you it's not easy having
right.
three
And I'm
dogs
a,
that are pooping or puking all the time. So
and I'm a mom to a cat, right?
I
Like, I mean,
know.
it's sort of the same sort of you're responsible for their well-being.
Yeah,
And
you're
that's
responsible
really
for another sentient being's well-being.
right, right.
Yeah.
And that sentient being has its own feelings, has its own emotions. The three dogs have entirely different personalities. It's like phenomenal, like even watching that. I know there are a lot of mothers out there that are gonna be like, yeah, that's not mom, but really, stop judging.
Yeah. And that's
Just
a different type
stop
of
it.
mother, right? That's a very different type of mother. You don't have
Yeah, it's a
to,
very
there's
different type
no,
of mother.
you can't compare the two anyway.
Yeah.
And I think we
All of
need
us.
to have more discussions within our South Asian communities about like, it's just me ensuring that women feel comfortable with that choice and that it's their own personal choice to become a mother,
Yeah, it's
right?
one
Exactly.
Or
person's
not.
choice to
Exactly.
become a mother, and that choice to become a mother or not become a mother is very loaded. So don't just assume that you know the answer to everything. It's not as simple as, oh, they're just irresponsible and want to be young. No, that's not what it's
Right.
about.
Right. Right. And I think there's a part of my mom that she still sees me as like irresponsible because I'm not a mother.
Yeah, it's that parents tend to see it like, well, older people tend to see it like you're just not willing to grow up.
Right.
So that's why you don't want to have a child. You want to be the perpetual
Right.
child. But that's not what it's about. You're not
Yeah.
having it's I think sometimes it's actually a very adult decision. Not even sometimes, I think it's all the time. It's a very actually mature decision to turn around and say, well, know yourself well enough to say, hey, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And maybe my forcing myself to do this is going to make me a not so great mom. So how about not putting a child through that?
Right.
No?
Right.
Exactly. I think
And
it's
yeah.
important to know what you want to do. And that's why I am in a way very glad it was not by choice, but there's 40 years between my daughter and I. And we adopted her when I was 41 or 42. So for me, there's a clear difference in my life before her and after her. And actually, turning 40 was the point where it was like, I said to my partner, I want to be a mom. I'm 40 years old. I'm going to do this with or without you. It took me a long time to finally say that in my marriage. It's like, and I'm so glad that I made that decision, because afterwards we divorced. And to me, the best thing that happened to me is my daughter. And she's not even biological. That, to me, that is what I wanted all my life. I wanted to be a mom.
I think it's really important for a mother to really want to mother. And I felt that in my mom my whole life. She wasn't a perfect mom. Well, we're all human, right? We're not perfect. But I make an active choice every single day to look at her perfections instead of her imperfections. It's really easy, I feel, to get carried away. We all have battlegrounds and stories that we can share that are like, oh yeah, me and my mom were at loggerheads for years and we couldn't see eye to eye. And it was a natural thing because I was an American woman, autonomous and very independent and free thinking. And my mother is an Indian woman through and through. Like, it took her many years to turn around and say, I'm an American in a proud kind of way, because she couldn't identify with Americans. It was really hard for her to assimilate, similar to Amna's, migration stories where your own people are very different here than they are in India. In India, there's that community that Amna's talking about, that everybody's just all over each other's houses and in each other's business, and chai pina and pakode khane and whatever. Yahan pe, it's very different. People meet each other very sporadically and for like 1 or 2 hours at a time, and the judgments are on like on a magnifying glass almost, like, oh, usne kya pehna, usne kya ye, isne kya kiya, isne kaise baat kiya. So it was really, I can't imagine how tough it was for my mom when she came here, trying to make sense out of here. I know it was exciting for her because she was very young. She came here in her early 20s. I was born when my mom was 21. So, and I migrated here at 14 days. Like my parents migrated here. My mother migrated here when I was 14 days old. So she was really new, still suffering and healing from her C-section, going through that. I don't think she had any postpartum depression or anything, but I'm sure that, it was really tough. A first-time mom comes to America, her child is sick, they have to take her to the doctor's appointments, have to do the vaccinations. It's very different than in India, right? And she's getting used to all of that. And I can't say that she let that up even for a minute. Overbearing? Absolutely. Very, very much like Raymond. Raymond's mom is my mom. Okay, she's calls us 10 times a day. She's over my house all the time. She wants to know everything that's happening. If you're not giving her an answer, if you're saying, like, I'll give you a small story. The other day we were eating lunch. She brings lunch. Yes, she brings lunch to work every day. Okay, so I'm spoiled in these ways, right? So my mother brings me and my dad lunch. So she brings lunch to the office, and before she's bringing lunch, she calls me. She says, "You want lunch?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want lunch, Mom. Thanks." "What's for lunch?" I said, and she's like, "Oh, blah blah, whatever it was that day." And so she brings that, but then she brings something else. She made tortellini for my dad, and my mom loves to cook. It's like what she lives for. Her conversations are all around, "Haan, to aaj kya kha rahe hain?" Like, subah kya khayenge, raat mein kya khayenge? Mom, enough with the khana, Mom. But so she brings this tortellini made in tomato sauce. And so I see it, and of course it looks appetizing to me. So I just took one tortellini, put it in my mouth, and I was like, no, not having that. Sorry. So I put the fork back and I just walked away. And she's like, "Kya hua? Nahi khaogi? Khao na. I'm like, "No, Mom, I don't want it." "Why don't you want it?" "Why don't you want it?" "No, Ma, I'm not feeling like tortellini right now." I was just trying to avoid the conversation. So I'm trying to avoid the conversation. I'm walking away. "I don't want it. Okay. I went and I took whatever it was that she brought for me, which was like, I think chicken nuggets and salad or something. So that was very nice. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to go and eat. And then I come back and then she says, now everybody's lunch is done and she's just finishing up her thing. And she's like, why didn't you take the tortellini? And I'm like, Mom, can you just stop? Like, it doesn't matter why I didn't take the damn tortellini. And she's like, नहीं लेकिन बताओ ना. मैंने कहा यार उसमें टेस्ट नहीं थी. मतलब मुझे पसंद नहीं है. बहुत ज्यादा गार्लिक डाला है आपने. Finally, I gave up. I couldn't take it anymore. With all the questioning and the inquisition. And I'm like, Mom. And then she says to me, and then she starts laughing. And then she gives me, Cindy's, we do this. She gives me the biggest bunda in the world, right? She's like, nah, like, lakala nothing. Right? And I'm like, what? She didn't say that. She just does it with her hand, the gesture. And I'm like, what? And she's like, well, you asked. You keep asking me. I don't want to tell you why I don't want to eat this, but you keep asking. So, like, there now. Leave me alone. So,
That is a cute story.
this is my mother, and she is an absolutely wonderful person. She's very loving, loyal to a fault. Super party animal. Not like your idea of party animal. I don't mean like I want to go to a discotheque and party. What I mean is that she always wants everyone to gather. She wants the entire family to come over. She wants to host barbecues. She wants us all to have a really good time. Growing up, it was always like that. My idea, I can't name how many discussions, my tryst with trying to figure out on the journey of who I am. What is Hinduism? My mother is very religious, so I always used to turn to her. All of the conversations happened in her famous kitchen around her dining table. And when the conversations weren't happening, we were playing tag. Me, my mom, and my brother were playing tag around the kitchen, living room, hallway, back to the kitchen, living room, in a circle, okay?
She used to play tag with you guys?
Yeah, she used to play tag with us. We used to wrestle. We would sometimes drop her to the ground. Sometimes we'd drop my brother to the ground. Sometimes we would.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
So we did a lot of this. She played with us like children. She corrected us when we were wrong. She was the one who made us become religious and aware of our religion. She's always been supportive of my dad through thick and thin. There was a time where she worked in the beginning when they migrated and he went back to school to finish his DDS. So it's just been, and I can't see my father without my mother. She's the one who taught him how to drive. Okay, there you go. I talk about feminist woman, right? She knew how to drive and she taught my father how to drive. So my mom is strength in silence, I feel. Strength in subservience almost. She doesn't come off as someone who's empowered, but in many ways she is. And she forms the foundation of the entire family, our whole family. I mean, sometimes I wonder, like, if she's not around, who's going to stay in touch with each other as far as me, my dad, and my brother are concerned, because we kind of suck at it. She kind of keeps us all
She's like the
connected.
glue. Yeah.
She's definitely the glue. We are
That's
all
what my mom
connected to
was.
her, and so we are all connected to each other.
Yeah.
And so I hope and I pray that she has a very long life. And so in summation, I think it's easy to get caught up in us looking at how the challenges we face with them. And I think even we as women forget to celebrate our mothers
Yeah.
because we get so caught up in our dramas and our day to day. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm so close to my mother right now too, and it's a very touch and go, relationship. I mean, there are so many times where she sits in front of me and says, "You just misspoke to me, and I really hated it, and I'm crying." I'm like, "Ma, all I said was stop." But you gotta keep at it. It's even me. I'm an imperfect person. I'm admitting that I lose my cool. Like I said earlier, I'm sorry, I'm summing now. We need to celebrate our mothers. Mothers are
Yes, we do. And we need to celebrate motherhood
motherhood or non-motherhood.
or non-motherhood. You just said you're mom to your dogs and your mom to your cats.
Yeah. Yes.
And also just even recognizing that, Mother's Day is actually not easy for a lot of folks who lost their mothers or who had really challenging relationships with their mothers and they're no longer in talking terms with them.
Yeah.
So just even that, my partner right now, he lost his mother a few years ago. And so Mother's Day is not an easy day for him.
Mother's Day is not an easy day for anybody. For anybody that's lost their mothers that they love, or even, you know, from friction and from fighting. I mean, even that's not easy
Right.
No.
for somebody to deal with Mother's Day when they're not, you know, loving the hell out of their mother. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's very difficult for a lot of people. And I'm acknowledging that.
Yeah. But I think at the same time, you know, the mothers are people who carry us in their bellies for 9 straight months. And without that, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having this conversation about Mother's Day. And Geet, you know, you touched on a really good point about just the food aspect. And I think that was another sort of, that's an expectation that South Asian women have, is that the food, they're going to take care of it, right? It's like sort of this built-in expectation in our culture. But they do a phenomenal job at it too. That's the thing. They make this amazing food, and like day in and day out, they're cooking away. And I think I owe it to my mom that like she taught me how to cook. And to this day, I call her and I'm like, what was I supposed to put in the biryani again? Like, and so I'm so grateful that she was able to like teach me how to cook. And I like am passionate about cooking to this day because of her too. Um, I would like to ask this question though. How are you and your mom the same or different?
I'll answer that.
Go
I'll
for it.
take that one first. Me and my mom are the same. Okay, so me and my mom are the same, that we're probably both loyal to a fault. We tend to take a lot of BS before we put our foot down. She is way more than me. Um, I actually set boundaries. She doesn't. I say enough and she doesn't. She doesn't have an enough buffer.
Foodie.
We're both foodies. We're both foodies. We both love to eat. We both love to feed people.
Except for that tortellini.
Except for that, well, no, that's just taste. She
I'm just
likes
kidding.
everything over, and I don't. I like very subtle flavors in a lot of things. While my mom likes to do bahut zyada, like, okay, again,
Punchy,
another
right?
story. I'm sorry, this is another story. My mom, when we go out to pizza, the first thing she does is take all 4 jars of spices and douse the pizza. I like to eat the pizza slice by itself. So that's the difference, but I mean, we're talking about similarities. Differences would be, so the way she was raised was very much like the woman of the house. And so she always knew how to cook. I learned everything later. My mom wanted me to do that, but I was not good at it when I was a kid. I hated the idea of being in a kitchen or sweeping or cleaning or anything like that. Eventually, I'm very good at it now, but at that time I was not good.
Oh, I was the opposite.
What does that mean?
I would like loved being in the kitchen and cooking with her. I was
Oh,
like
Wow.
that's nice.
completely the opposite.
हाँ लेकिन देखो तुम्हारी अम्मी जब तुमको सिखाती थी तो she used to tell you 1 tablespoon of this, 1 teaspoon of that.
Nahin, it was always thoda
Oh.
sa ye dal do, thoda. And I'm like, what is thoda? You gotta give me like a measurement here. I don't know what thoda means.
अच्छा, okay. So see, I'm not good with the abstract because she used to say that to me and I was like, Mom,
Yeah.
आप मेरा दिमाग पका रही है, मैं जा रही हूँ यहाँ से. मुझे तो समझ ही नहीं आ रहा, थोड़ा ये, थोड़ा वो, a pinch of this, inch of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've had to like literally measure things out now so I could like have a recipe. But that's exactly what she would tell me. Every recipe is, हाँ बस थोड़ा सा डाल दो. It's like, I don't know what the, again, I don't
The
know what
other
that
side
means.
is also that my mom was highly critical of me in her kitchen. So if I was in her kitchen with her and I'm cutting प्याज, she's like, ये क्या मोटी प्याज काटी है? तुम्हें प्याज नहीं काटने आती?
छोटा काटो.
छोटा काटो, पतला काटो.
मेरी अम्मी तो कहती थी हाथों में सुराख होते हैं, जब किचन कभी नहीं जाओगे और जब जाओगे तो फिर यही होगा, चीजें टूटेंगी, हाथ कटेंगे. And to this day when I am out of practice and I go back to the kitchen and I'm like cutting myself, I just remember my mom.
Yeah, yeah. We both were foodies, so I went through that. The differences are, of course, generational and environmental. And I got to learn from her mistakes. So that's the other side. The fact that she just doesn't have a stop button made me create one. So those are the differences. The challenges, did you say challenges? Or am I just making that up?
Similarities and differences.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
it.
Amna, what about, Geet, you wanna, should
Yeah,
I
I'm
go?
done. I'm done. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Amna.
Amna.
Yeah,
Similarities
so
and differences?
similarities, I think probably as you get, all of us, as we get older, we start to think, huh, I'm like my mom. But when I was younger, to say I was like my mom would be just terrible thing to say to me. But I'm a lot like my mom in the sense that I'm both like both of them. Some things that I have picked from each of them, but a lot more like my mom in the sense that the resilience, the strength, this capacity. I have this capacity that when bad things happen, I just readjust. I just say, okay, this is my new reality and I have to find happiness in it. So I'm an optimist. That's unlike my mom. My mom was not as much of an optimist as I have become over the years. But like Geet said, that we also learn from our mothers. And so a lot of similarities, majority of them are around your character, like resilience, being a survivor, just being happy. अम्मी had this habit of always putting on a lipstick. और हमें भी उन्होंने यही सिखाया कि जब बहुत मुश्किल हालात हो रहे होते हैं ना और कुछ कंट्रोल में नहीं होता, just put some makeup on and look at yourself in the mirror. And so I see myself doing that. My daughter will sometimes point out and say, we went to Central Park and I put lipstick on and she was like, Mom, we're out in the woods. Like, yeah, whatever. Now she says that she picked that up from me. She always puts on lipstick.
No, that's really important because those are lessons of resilience that mothers can teach their children.
Yes.
And yours is lipstick, mine is not because my mom doesn't wear lipstick, but in her own ways, she taught me that too.
Yeah.
We do learn that from the women in our lives, how to be resilient. रिश्तों को निभाते कैसे हैं? ये मेरी अम्मी ने मुझे सिखाया है.
I think in terms of similarities and differences for me and my mom was we're very similar in terms of like very similar height. We actually do look a little similar too. I, you know, yes, the love for food. I think
Love
I
for cooking.
learned, yeah, love for cooking. I learned how to care for others from her. Gitu, exactly what you were saying too. And I think that really taught me what, you know, what it meant to like love family and love one another. And at the same time, I'm really different from her. We have really different ideas about what life should be like. She does not agree with me that like I am not having children. And to this day, that bothers her. And we just have to, you know, I've said to her, I think we have to just agree to disagree. And that's okay. And I know that for someone like her, you know, born in 1940s, I know that's not an easy thing for her to wrap her head around. But that's okay. I've come to terms with that, and I think she has too. So hopefully, I'm not gonna have any more pregnancy conversations. Knock on wood, someone.
Yeah, knock on wood. Knocking on wood for you because you're knocking. Okay.
Yeah.
Ladies, this has been great.
Yeah. Such a wonderful
Till we
conversation.
meet again.
And also, you can check
Oh.
us out on auraten.com. That's auraten.com. And you can follow us
Auraten.
you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And our handle is at @3orten. That's at 3orten. This has been great. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, 3orten.
Been fun.
Thank you, ladies. That brings us to the end of episode 2. Thanks for tuning in. We are now on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Also, if you want to get in touch with us, leave us a comment, show us some love, show us some hate. If you want to be featured on the show, if you think you have an idea that you'd like to hear about from us, please visit our website at www.auraten.com. That's spelled AURATEN.com. There is a link on the right side of the page through which you can either leave us a message or leave us a voicemail. One of us will respond to you as soon as we can. And remember, without your support, this podcast can't be. Tune in next time to episode 3, in which we'll be talking about Roe v. Wade. Thanks for tuning in. This is Geet signing off.